Hanji, so this is to address a common query that I constantly have been getting ever since the exam has been delayed. Okay, and this is about your score. Okay, so many of you keep sending queries that your score is stuck, your number of correct questions is stuck, despite the fact that you were already ready to give the March exam, or you were almost ready to give the March exam. And now, you find out that when you give a grand test, when you give the CBT, your number of correct questions is always ranging in the same zone as it was before. Now, I know we are going to aim at improving your number of correct questions, but you need to acknowledge this, that if you need to improve your number of correct questions, you have to do something different than what you have done previously. Because if you are going to repeat the same mode of study as you have done previously, your scores won't improve, and that is something that you all need to acknowledge. Okay, so if we want a different result, we need to put in a different effort. And the moment this strikes to you, you will realize that things need to change. You are not just studying बच्चे to pass time. ठीक है, ये बात को प्लीज समझो और उसको सिंक इन करो. You are not passing time. You're not just going to pass 6 months and give the exam. You are going to study to improve your score, to improve the opportunities that are going to come your way, right? So we have to do things differently than what we have done before. It doesn't mean that you have to do something completely new or vague or unique to get a good rank. No, it has to be the same things, but they have to be done in a different way. Now, let me come how you can do that. So, please remember, number one, analysis of your paper is very important, and for that matter giving the paper is very important. So don't shy away from giving a grand test or a CBT. Please give it. It is a must do. आपको पता भी नहीं है कि वो कितना ज़रूरी है, especially when the news of delay comes in. Now once you give the paper, sit and see what are the questions you have done wrong. Okay, I just don't want you to count your number of wrong questions. I want you to see what exactly you have done wrong, and then you have to categorize. I always say, look out for whether it is a content based wrong question, it is a memory based wrong question, or a recall based wrong question, or something that was new or an update, and that is why you didn't know it. Okay, now if it is a content base, you need to further do an analysis. Okay, number one, was this content not available with me? I mean, there are certain topics where your knowledge is superficial, right? Or where you do have the notes, but you have simply ignored some parts of it and tried to remember only some parts of it. So was it because your depth in that topic was not adequate, your knowledge is superficial, which means you have to go to the depth. There is no other way to improve it. और बहुत सारे ऐसे टॉपिक होंगे जहाँ पे आपकी डेप्थ सुपरफिशियल होगी. You don't realize this, but a lot of times when you get confused between two options, you say that the options were confusing, and that's why I couldn't answer. Well, in reality, the options needed more depth in that topic. So please go back and see. Okay, so as I said, was the problem with the depth of the content कि मुझे इसमें इतना ही आता था, and that is why I couldn't answer. The second problem with the content could be that I have the content with me. No, it is written there, but still somehow I couldn't apply it. That is an application based problem, which means you have tried to mug up or memorize things, but when it comes in a clinical format or in an indirect format, you're not able to use the same information. And the approach is different for these two things. If the problem is depth of the content, you have to go back to your notes, you have to read that topic in detail. You cannot cut it short. Okay, if you do that, you will still land up with making errors. है ना? If the problem is application, then you need to work on your MCQ skill. So you need to not just read the topic. Reading it again will not help because आपने वो पहले भी पढ़ा है ना? So not only are you supposed to read it, you have to see how that question from that topic can be twisted, What ways can they confuse you, what language will they use. And that is where, especially if you're doing test and discussion, that really really helps. It gives you the correct approach, the correct application. It gives you an insight on which topics you need to increase your depth. Okay, so this is as far as content is concerned. For memory, I always used to practice something which I can definitely recommend, and I'm quite sure it works. At the end of the day, when you think you've done enough and you want to still stretch your limits, I used to have a diary of my own. And whenever I study or मेरी पढ़ाई खत्म हो जाती है, at the end of the day what I would do is just sit and write down 10 memory based things, only 10. Right, कि मुझे अभी randomly what are the 10 things I can remember from whatever I've studied today, which are memory based. So it could be IOCs, it could be organisms, it could be certain values, right? And I used to just randomly write 10 points in a copy, and I followed it religiously. So believe me, if you start writing these 10 points, right, which are only memory based from whatever you have done today, and practice it every single day, you will realize that half of the things no longer are a problem for you. You will remember them. Then, not only that, this copy itself becomes such a useful resource to flip through even in the last week, even in the last 2 days before the exam. And then you really don't have to ask someone, ki, what are the things which are value based, which are important that I should focus on. This is what you should focus on, right? And as far as concerning, maybe there are certain topics that you haven't read about at all, and if they are coming in your grand test, then yes, they are worth going through at least superficially. These are not the topics where I want you to go into a lot of depth. It's not required. But yes, if it has come once in your grand test or in your subject wise test, उसका मतलब क्या होता है कि या तो ये क्वेश्चन काफी पहले आया है एग्जाम में, या इसकी प्रोबेबिलिटी है ना. So in questions ko, it's a good idea to go through them, maybe not in detail, but yes, whatever is in the video discussion, go back to your notes. Maybe your teacher has taught you something about them, utna zarur karo for those topics. So try out these three modes: for concept, for memory, and for new things. And then with this approach, give the next paper, whether a grand test or a CBT, right? And see if it is working or not. I want that for every student, no matter what your current number of correct questions is, with every subsequent test, the number of correct questions has to improve. Even if it is improving by 2, I am very happy. Okay, I'm not saying improve by 10, 20, 30. No, improve by 2, 3, 4, whatever number you can, because that is what is going to give you a lot of confidence to persist. सिर्फ एक ही चीज मैं दोबारा बोलना चाहती हूँ जो मुझे लगता है बहुत जरूरी है. आधे लोग सिर्फ इसलिए पढ़ रहे हैं क्योंकि उनको 6 महीने पार करने हैं. दैट्स नॉट द राइट रीजन. हम इसीलिए पढ़ रहे हैं ताकि हम अपने स्कोर को, अपने रैंक को, अपने मार्क्स को इम्प्रूव कर सकें. यू हैव टू बी वेरी क्लियर ऑन व्हाई यू आर डूइंग समथिंग, राइट? सो I am sure that this gives you some insight, and maybe you can get back even for a week, and then we'll keep coming back to you. We know what are the questions you want to ask us, so we'll keep trying answering them. We'll keep coming back to you as well. So try this out. Do send me a message if it's working for you. Even if it is not working for you, let me know what your process is. But एक बात तो पक्की है दोस्त, कि अगर हमें कुछ डिफरेंट आउटकम चाहिए तो हमें कुछ डिफरेंट इनपुट भी देना पड़ेगा. सो if you want to improve, you have to change something in your strategy which was probably not up to the mark. Let's change it, let's make it happen, and it will happen. There is no doubt about that. Each one of you can improve, provided you get an insight on how to improve and what should be your focus. Okay, so take care everyone. I'm going to be back again with another query probably, and whatever best I can do to help you in the process.